Thanks very much, Cathleen. Firstly, I'd like to thank my own colleague, Deputy Tully, not just for bringing this motion forward this evening, but for all of her work in this area. We're very lucky to have such an excellent spokesperson in Deputy Tully. My colleagues have spoken about the strike action, and it is true that it was averted very last minute. As somebody that used to work in the trade union movement, I can tell you that no worker ever wants to go on strike. It's absolutely the last place, particularly those that work in the community sector, that work in the voluntary sector, and that work in caring roles, because they take that work very, very seriously. It was totally unfair to them, and it was totally unfair to families. And can I say that in the last 2 to 3 weeks leading up to this, I saw statements on social media where people were asking, would somebody be able to come to their home and help them if the strike happened? That's the situation that the government placed people with disabilities and their families in, that they felt they had to take to social media to look for somebody that might come in to help them get up out of bed in the morning, which is absolutely, totally and utterly unacceptable. And I will say that all of those people and their families stand shoulder to shoulder with the workers in the sector that they know do such excellent work. Time and again, myself and my colleagues bring examples of the real-life consequences for people and children with disabilities from this and previous governments' inability to address the huge shortcomings in funding for this sector. In particular, the utter failure of government to prioritise services for children with additional needs and disability is a national disgrace. The budget should have been the budget that changed that. In fact, I remember the Taoiseach saying last year that he wanted to focus on children and children with poverty and make this a children's budget. Well, certainly that was not the case when it was announced last week. And I will say that we are creating a situation, particularly for children with additional needs, where we are having nearly a two-tier society. Okay, so if I chose not to send my children to school, I will get a letter after 20 days to say, why aren't your children in school? If a child with an additional need cannot access a school place or not access transport to get to that school place, they're basically just told, well, you know, we're doing our best, we'll have to see what we can do. Maybe we'll be able to get you a school place by Halloween. Absolutely no regard whatsoever for the impact that that has on children, for their learning and for their futures. In Sinn Féin's alternative budget, we committed to implementing the recommendations of the Disability Capacity Review to meet the unmet needs of children across the state. We called for, and I'm reiterating those calls here again this evening, that significant and sustained public investment is needed to address unacceptably long waiting times for children who need assessment and vital therapy interventions. And can I say, I can't accept that there isn't a TD or senator in this House that is not inundated with families looking for assessments and then looking for those vital services. I mean, it's gotten to the stage now where I'm getting contacted by schools because they're so desperate for children to get those assessments. And yet, those same families have to turn on the news and hear that we have billions in a surplus, and yet their children can't get the very vital services that they need. The Disability Federation of Ireland monitors staffing on a regular basis. You can clearly see they are extremely concerned about staffing. Services catalogue the significant downgrading of services, which they found is having an impact on the relationship between those providing the service and service users. So what I'd like to hear today in response, Ministers, is what is the plan to address these waiting lists? What is the plan in relation to the Section 39 organisations, and how are you going to practically resolve this? Because we have given example after example in the last number of budgets. Thank you, Cathleen.